I know a used equipment row about 40 minutes from my place, and I have never seen it this empty. Gravel lot, chain link fence, the kind of yard where a clean John Deere 8R used to sell in a week. Last spring I walked it, and it was full of high horsepower iron, low hours, the machines everybody wants. That was last spring. This month I walked the same gravel, and the good ones are gone. Used high horsepower inventory has now shrunk for 14 months straight. And the new tractors out front of the dealership are not selling either. 2 lots, 1 fence line, both emptying out. That is a squeeze the folks in Moline cannot fix by cutting the price on 1 new tractor. Picture that same gravel row a year and a half ago. It was the opposite problem. Dealers had more clean used iron than they knew what to do with, and a farmer could take his time, walk 3 lots, and make somebody come down on price. Walk it today, and you take what you can get. Let me give you the real numbers behind that fence, because this is the part that matters. Sandhills Global tracks the used machines sitting on dealer lots and rolling through the auction ring across the country. In their July report, used high-horsepower tractor inventory was down 16.75% from a year earlier. That was the 14th month in a row it fell, and it is no fresh blip. June's report told the same story, the used pool already sliding for more than a year by then. From June into July alone, it dropped another 2%. So the stock of big used tractors a farmer can actually go buy has been draining steadily for well over a year, and it is running low. Now set the new side of the lot next to that. The Association of Equipment Manufacturers, the industry's own retail scoreboard, says new tractors over 100 horsepower are down about 16% so far this year. 15.5% if we want to be exact, and the headline rounds it up. 4-wheel drive, the biggest of the big, is down 27% year to date. Sit with that a second. New high horsepower sales down about 16%. Used high horsepower inventory down about 17%. 2 markets that are supposed to move against each other, both falling almost the same amount at the same time. I put everything I learned about buying used without getting burned into a manual, the Equipment Freedom Manual. It is at getacheron.com, and the link is in the description. That is all. Back to that gravel row. The question underneath all of this is simple. If a farmer decides a new tractor that starts deep in 6 figures can wait 1 more season, where does he go instead? For a lot of us, the answer for the last 2 years has been the used lot. And that is exactly why the used lot is emptying. There is real logic to it, and none of it is nostalgia. When you buy a used tractor like that, somebody else already ate the first and worst chunk of depreciation. A new machine can shed a serious slice of its value the day it rolls off the lot, the same way a new pickup does. Buy it 3 or 4 years used, and that drop already happened on the last owner's books, not yours. There is a money reason stacked on top of the wear reason, too. A used machine usually means a smaller loan, and with borrowing costs sitting where they are right now, a smaller loan means less interest bleeding out of the operation every year that note is on the books. For an operator watching his working capital, the tractor he does not fully finance is the cheapest one he can run. You also know the platform. A farmer who has run a John Deere 8R or a Case IH Magnum for a decade knows every grease point on it, knows what breaks, knows the tricks. There is comfort in iron you understand. And on the older machines, the ones built before the tractor turned into a rolling computer, A farmer or an independent shop can still handle a lot of the repair without a dealer laptop plugged into the side of it. That last part is what matters most to a lot of you, and I hear it in the comments on every video we put out. What people want is a machine they can fix themselves, so the pull toward used is real. But this is what makes the market so tight. The machines farmers are choosing not to trade in do not vanish from the math. They are the used market. When a farmer decides the 8R in his shed has one more season in it, he keeps it, and that tractor never shows up on the used row for the next man to buy. Multiply that one decision across the Corn Belt for 2 years running, and the used lot thins from both ends at once. Fewer people trading in, and more people hunting the same clean, low-hour machine. And it is tightest in the exact size class most of us actually shop. Sandhills splits the high horsepower group into bands. The 100 to 174 horsepower band, the bread and butter row crop size that runs the planter and pulls the grain cart on a lot of family operations, was down 23.76% year over year. Nearly a quarter of that inventory gone from the lots in 12 months. That band is the everyday tractor a mid-size operator was counting on finding clean and affordable, and it is the hardest one to put your hands on right now. So if your plan for the next machine was a solid, used, mid-size tractor you could keep running in your own shop, you are not imagining the problem. The lot really is thinner, and the clean ones really do move fast. If your plan for the next tractor is an older one you can actually fix yourself without a dealer and a laptop, subscribe. That is most of what we cover here. Now let me tell you what I actually know about used iron, because I spent years on the other side of this. Before I farmed full-time, I turned wrenches in a dealer service bay. And the part of buying used that no inventory report will ever show you is what I used to find when a machine came in for a pre-sale inspection. A used tractor can look perfect out on the gravel. Clean paint, tight cab, good tread on the tires. Then you get it up in the bay and pull the hydraulic filters and see what came out on the magnet. You put a gauge on the hydraulics and watch whether it holds pressure or bleeds down. You listen to the transmission under load, because a big power shift or a continuously variable transmission is the most expensive thing on the machine to make right, and it does not always warn you it is dying until it is. You look at the hours, sure, but hours lie both ways. A high-hour tractor with honest maintenance can be a better buy than a low-hour machine that sat wet in a shed with every service skipped. I remember one in particular. A farmer had all but signed for it. Looked like a clean trade, priced right. I got it up in the bay and found metal in the hydraulic oil and a soft spot in the transmission that would have been his problem inside a season. I told him to walk away. He did not want to hear it that afternoon because he had already made that machine his in his head. He called me the next winter to say thanks. That is the thing about old iron the headline never carries. Older does not automatically mean cheaper to own. A newer used tractor drags you into the emissions electronics and the sensors only a dealer can reset. An older one frees you from all that, but the wear is real, the parts still cost money, and a bad transmission does not care how much you love the machine. On the used lot, the inspection matters a great deal more than the sticker. Now I have to be straight with you about what this data does and does not prove, because I have watched other people run way past what these numbers actually say. Start with price. If farmers were truly stampeding into the used market, you would expect used values to be shooting up, and they are not. On that same Sandhills report, used auction values were up just 2.97% against last year, a hair under 3%. Asking prices came in essentially flat, down a fraction, that rounds to zero. That is the fingerprint of a firm, steady market, and it is a long way from the bidding war you would see if buyers were truly desperate. This is where I have to check my own headline. The title on this video says, "Farmers are turning to used." I believe the pull is real. I hear it from you constantly. But falling used inventory is not the same thing as proven higher demand, and I will not pretend it is. Inventory can shrink for reasons that have nothing to do with a buying rush. Fewer farmers trading in means fewer machines flowing onto the lots to begin with. Dealers, staring at a soft new tractor market, may simply be stocking less used iron on purpose. Supply can fall all on its own. The honest read is that some of this is farmers choosing used, and some of it is just fewer machines entering the pipeline. I cannot hand you a clean number that splits those two apart, so I am not going to invent one. What I can tell you is the thing that actually lands on a farmer at the gate. Whatever the mix of reasons, there are fewer good used tractors sitting there to buy. Step back, because this is bigger than one gravel lot in my county. What we are watching is the whole replacement cycle stretching out. For decades, the machinery business ran on a rhythm. A farmer traded up every few years, the trade came onto the used lot, and the next operator down the ladder bought it. For a long time, that rhythm ran smooth, and nobody gave it a thought. That is over now. When the man at the top keeps his tractor 2 extra seasons, everybody below him waits too, and the used iron that used to flow through the system just stays parked in sheds. I have done it on my own place, kept a tractor 2 more years that I would have traded before, and every farmer who makes that call is one less machine coming onto the used row for the next man. We have watched this exact movie before, in a market every one of us knows. A few years back, when new car prices ran wild and the lots sat empty, buyers poured onto the used side. Used prices jumped, and a clean, low-mile used car got expensive and hard to find. Farm equipment is the slow-motion version of that same story, but a tractor works on a different clock than a commuter car. It is the biggest check most operations write, and holding on to the one you have is a decision you can make for years, not months. There is a second thing underneath it, and it is the reason so many of you want the older machines specifically. It is the same fight Apple picked with everybody who ever wanted to fix their own phone. The company that sells you the machine wants to own the repair too. A newer used tractor comes with the emissions computer and the dealer-only diagnostics baked in. A farmer who buys an older, simpler machine is buying his way out of a system that wants him dependent, and he knows exactly what he is doing. Call it sentiment if you want, but he would tell you he is just buying back the right to fix his own machine. And if this runs through another replacement cycle, the one holding the cards is not corporate. It is the farmer with a paid-for machine he can keep running. He is not desperate for the new tractor, and he is not desperate for the used one either. He can wait. That patience is the whole game, and it is exactly what an expensive system built on everybody trading up on schedule cannot stand. This does something to the dealer too, and it is not the clean win you might guess. You would think a thin used market is good news for the man selling new tractors. Less competition on the lot. It does not work out that simple. A dealer runs on trade-ins. When a farmer buys new, his old machine comes in as a trade, and the dealer turns around and sells that used unit to the next customer, often for a good piece of his margin. Slow the new sales down, and you choke off the flow of fresh trades at the same time. So the dealer gets caught in the middle. His new tractors move slow because farmers are postponing, and the used inventory that normally carries him through a soft stretch is drying up because those same farmers are not trading in. On top of that, he is paying interest on every machine sitting on his lot. They call it floor plan, and it is exactly what it sounds like, borrowed money against the iron on the ground. A new high-horsepower tractor that sits unsold for months is a machine eating interest every day it does not move. So the dealer has real pressure to make a deal, and that is one of the few corners of this whole picture where a farmer with cash or a good line of credit holds the cards right now. If you are set on buying new anyway, a tractor that has been sitting is a tractor the dealer wants gone. And here is the part that feeds on itself. With used values up only that 3%, the dealer cannot put a strong trade-in number on a farmer's old machine either. A weak trade offer is one more reason that farmer decides to keep what he has and wait another season. None of that shows up in a used inventory chart, but it is the reality on the lot behind the chart. The flip side for the farmer is real, though, and it is why I am not telling everybody to just go buy used and call it solved. When the good used inventory keeps draining, the upper hand on that side of the lot slides the wrong way. Go back to that same gravel row a year and a half ago. A farmer could walk 3 lots, take his time, find 4 clean tractors in the size he wanted, and play them against each other on price. That world is mostly gone. When there are 2 clean, low-hour machines in your size within driving distance instead of a dozen, you are the one under pressure now, and the seller knows it. The clean units sell in days. The good ones get 3 people calling on them. You show up ready to be patient, and somebody already put money down that morning. So the used lot solves less than it looks like from a distance, though for plenty of operations it is still the right call. The tighter it gets, the more it starts to feel like the new lot did, where you take what is on the ground and you pay closer to asking. Fewer choices is fewer choices, whichever side of the fence you are standing on. And if you do go used, the most important line on the machine is not the hours, and it is not even the price. It is the model year, because of where it lands on the emissions timeline. Early last decade, the big manufacturers had to bolt a whole exhaust treatment system onto these engines to meet federal rules. The diesel exhaust fluid, the particulate filter, the regen cycle that burns it clean. A used tractor built before that changeover is a simpler machine to own and fix. One built after it can still be a fine tractor, but you are buying into sensors and a computer that, when they throw a code in the middle of harvest, can put you in line for a dealer appointment you do not have time for. That split is why 2 used tractors the same size and the same hours can be completely different purchases. The older one hands you back the repair. The newer one keeps you tied to the dealer counter. You had better know which one you are signing for, because the inventory report will not tell you. That takes a walk around and a serial number and an honest conversation, the kind we used to have across a parts counter before the whole trade moved to a screen. So what do we actually watch from here to know which way this breaks? 2 things mostly. The first is that auction number. Right now, used values are up under 3%, which tells me the buying is steady and orderly. If that number starts to climb, if it pushes past 3, 4, 5% in the reports over the next few months, that is the real signal that demand is genuinely chasing a shrinking supply. That is the moment turning to used stops being an interpretation and becomes a fact you can read right off the price. The second thing is whether the inventory slide finally breaks. Well over a year of monthly declines is a long run. It breaks when farmers start trading up again, and farmers start trading up again when the math on a new machine makes sense, which comes back to crop prices and interest rates and the cost of borrowing against a tractor. None of that has turned a corner yet. Until it does, look for the used row to stay thin and the clean machines to keep moving fast. So I will end where I started, back on that gravel row about 40 minutes from my place. Same fence, same chain link, except now when I look through it, I do not just see the empty spots where the clean tractors used to sit. I see more than a year of farmers looking at a new tractor price, then looking at the machine already in their shed and deciding it is good enough for another season. That is not a market in trouble. That is a market full of people who finally have a reason to tell the salesman no. But saying no to the new tractor and hunting the used lot is only one way farmers are voting right now. There is another. One company is claiming that two of its brands, Massey Ferguson and the Fendt line sold under AgCo, are gaining ground in America, even as this whole big horsepower market shrinks. If the green machines are getting harder to justify, then somebody is winning the farmers who still decide to buy. That is where we go next.